We're back from PAX Unplugged, and we're here to give you all the news stories and our impressions from the show, plus some other tidbits in the board game world on our news roundup for the week of December 3rd, 2018. To go along with the Penny Arcade Expo this past weekend, Direwolf Digital announced a Penny Arcade related game. They're coming out with a brand new version of Clank titled Clank Acquisitions Incorporated Legacy. If you don't know Clank, it's a deck building game with a board. We recently reviewed it and its other version in space on our channel. And Acquisitions Incorporated is a podcast sort of spin-off of the Penny Arcade property based on Dungeons & Dragons that's kind of spun off into its own universe altogether. So this is going to be a legacy version of Clank with the theming of Acquisitions Incorporated. So it's going to be a campaign-style game where new things are added and taken away as you progress through the game. A lot to digest there. They haven't given us really any information about how exactly it plays or how those legacy elements work exactly. But knowing Clank as we do, what do you think? Just the system itself, how do you think that will lend itself to a legacy style game?
To look at, the closest I can think of off the top of my head is actually the Shadowrun and Dragonfire games. Because I don't think they're technically considered legacy. They are a deck building game, which sort of you level up and carry on through rounds. So that
there
would be
are stickers that you put on cards.
Yes, but I don't know if they officially have the legacy title. I know we're playing through the Shadowrun one, and we find the upgrades all sort of cool. I know for us at least, I'm sure if you have more experience, you may agree or disagree with us. We wish there was a way that your deck would somehow carry over, whether it's a card or two, a bit more. And I would like to see them have that kind of, if you, for example, were able to carry over adventure if you made it out alive or not.
Yeah.
But the big thing, the thing I could bet most likely to happen would be there to actually be different boss monsters. Because you'd actually kill or defeat, so you go or rob someone else.
That would be cool. Yeah, maybe something happens in certain spaces of the board. Like if you make too much noise somewhere, it's just destroyed completely. Or another thing that could carry over would be the items that you get, like from the marketplace. You know, like in the original game, you would get the key that can let you go through locked paths. Maybe that's now the next game you start with that. You don't have to buy it again. Now there's a new item in the marketplace or something like that. And then of course there'll be an envelope and new items come out and new cards. There's a lot you could do.
New boards.
Yeah, it could be, or new, if it's modular like space, maybe there's just new sections of a board.
Right.
Acquisitions Incorporated itself, I've heard a little bit of, but I really don't know that much about the world of it. So that part it's cool that they're collaborating on it, but it doesn't really excite me too much personally.
I do enjoy the Penny Arcade artwork and comic. So hopefully I will enjoy the game as well.
We'll find out when it is scheduled to release next year in fall 2019.
There was also another game announced, which we only have a little details on, but still very interesting. Stonemaier Games has announced Wingspan, which is a new game actually designed by developer Elizabeth Hargrave, a new designer, I believe, in terms under the Stonemaier umbrella. What we know about this game is, you can probably guess from the title picture and the name, it's about birds. We know there's some cool eggs that come along, as well as we've seen a couple, looks like food tokens, looks like a dice tower with some wooden dice, which look really cool, and one card I think we've seen so far of a peregrine falcon. The other interesting thing of note is apparently some people have found that Elizabeth has made a previous game sort of in the Unpub scene that was also about birds, and where you sort of are trying to make sort of a bird sanctuary and collect different birds for points and stuff like that. So some people are guessing that it's sort of a evolution of that, if not a direct sequel. The art looks amazing. I always love when you get some really nice animal art in there, and birds are really cool, and it does look like sort of an aspect of trying to breed birds and stuff, because I assume that's what the eggs are for. And the one picture we have, I think, of a whole bunch of, it's more zoomed out so you can't read details, but of all these different birds, and I can't wait to see all these weird birds that go on and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, anytime there's an announcement from Stonemaier, it's exciting because they put out really great content. Really cool to see not only a developer that we don't hear from a lot, designer that is, but also of course a female designer. You don't see that all the time in the board game industry. And the bird theme, like you said, is pretty cool. I'm hoping that we see more than just, we have grackles, but I'm ready for more breeds of birds.
No, this seems to have plenty of different breeds. I know the peregrine falcon alone card said, like, look through the bird deck, which you've seen in the back, it's like feathers. I assume it's the bird deck. And if the wingspan is 100 or less than 100, I can't remember exact, put underneath it. So I'm like, if there's enough birds in variety that you have to look at wingspans, I'm like, oh, this probably sounds like a really interesting, weird sort of...
So it's probably some kind of a competitive thing to have like the most best birds.
Well, I assume you're balancing, like, because I think usually in most animals, non-predatory creatures are going to breed more because because the predators eat most of them, so they need to make sure that some spawn make it through. So you're probably bouncing, trying some of those, and maybe the predators like peregrine falcon that helped thin the herd of your opponents. But I'm really curious because there's rolling food dice too, so you probably have to manage like wetlands or grasslands and stuff to make sure their habitat fits them.
Yeah, kind of made me think of maybe the only other comparison we have in the board game world, which is Evolution, the Flight expansion, where it's focused on birds and creatures of the sky. And that game is all about food and
also very beautiful animals.
Yeah, beautiful artwork. So what was the date they had for this? Just 2019?
Yeah, as of now, it's just early 2019. Like you said, we don't know many details. We've seen pieces. We don't know exactly how everything works, but as you said, Stonemaier Games is definitely a company you can bet on. So we'll see where this takes off. As we said earlier in the show, and if you've been paying attention to our channel, we've been at PAX Unplugged for 2018, and we saw a lot of cool games, maybe some new stuff and some old favorites that we may have missed.
Yeah.
So first off, we're going to start with two games that are actually properties we love.
That's true.
Yeah, both from the same developer.
Yeah, Lynn Vander Studios, who made the Buffy the Vampire Slayer game. We got to stop by and kind of check out a little bit of what they're working on, starting with new expansions for that Buffy game. Not only a new expansion, but also an Angel board game, which is a standalone, but the two will be able to be combined into one giant game, even though they said the mechanics are actually very different. So that's really crazy. And they're working on multiple other Buffy games. They talked to us about one that's set in the high school itself that's sort of like a Clue/dungeon crawler kind of a game.
I thought that was like Werewolf or Swans of Betrayer.
There's another one that's like Werewolf.
They're really taking Buffy and doing all these crazy things. I remember when he started explaining it, I just saw your eyes started just light up like, yes.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that I liked the Buffy game so much and that a company that I have a little faith in now has that franchise is really reassuring. So
yeah, and another one, which is a big one for me, is the Cowboy Bebop game. You can actually see the box right behind us. And this is really cool because it sort of has that feeling. If you watch the show, they're bounty hunters more or less, and they're always like on the cusp of like being in the black and red when it comes to money and food. And the game seems to work with that really well with this whole bar. You have to keep track of everything and collect your bounties, but of course you have to make sure to complete your character's stories too. The only problem is we've looked through and Ein is not a playable character, though I can sort of understand why, because then if he was, everyone would want to be him.
He would win automatically. He'd save the day. I mean, I can't wait to see how it compares to the new live-action Cowboy Bebop.
Well, you'll see. But as you said, we played the Buffy game and enjoyed that, so I'm definitely much more confident in them doing the property justice. I think a big one is, because this seems to be at least from what I can tell, might appear on a lot of people's top 10 lists at the end of the year, is with game Reef.
Yeah.
This is one that we just didn't get to earlier at Gen Con and stuff. This time we finally got to play it. If you don't know, it's sort of a game where you're collecting pieces of coral. I believe that's called making a reef, but you're stacking it above and you're trying to score, but looking above. So even though if you have like a red, yellow, and purple, because you're looking above, you just see purple there.
Right. It's 3D dimensional stacks, and it kind of had the feeling like everybody has their own individual reef. So you're working on that, and the way you're competing is that you get points by playing cards, and if you match the certain pattern on it, you'll get rewarded for that. And there's also a public face-up pile of cards that you can choose to take from. So you might see someone kind of trying to go for a certain color, certain combination, and maybe take that from them instead. But it sort of reminded me of another game we reviewed this year, Scarabia, which, it's that kind of On the lighter side, more abstract, almost solo kind of puzzle-solving game, but with this really beautiful components and artwork and interesting theme layered on top of that. So it was neat. Another old game that we saw that we happened to play that we hadn't heard about actually is called Eschaton from Archon Games. And this one is a deck builder, but it is pretty unique. It also has a board, and on that board you're kind of playing out a territory control game at the same time. So the theme of the game, it's sort of this apocalyptic medieval thing where the world is going to end. And in fact, the final card is Armageddon, and that's when the game ends. And on your turn, you play your entire hand, and it's very streamlined and straightforward because, you know, a lot of deck building games, it's deciding what order to play things in. But in this one, you put them all out, and the cards each have 4 attributes. Some of them might have a 0 in them, but they're all listed. And you just simply go in order. The first one, how many points do I have? And you do it. The second one, you do it. Third and fourth, etc. So it really makes the game go quickly. And it's sort of like, it's more in the Dominion style where there are piles of the same cards, and that's how you're buying them.
And the map itself, the way it works is a lot of the territories, there's one spot that everyone can spawn, and you spawn in the beginning. And the last action you do is pretty much aggression. You move, spawn more guys, or attack. And it's very simple because just attacking, you don't have to worry about stats. It's literally, I spend 1 to remove 1 of your cubes. Like,
right, yeah.
Nothing more than that. But each territory is worth points at the end of the game if you control it. No ties, you gotta have most. Some of them are worth less, but they give big bonuses during game. So it's sort of a, do I go for that early game bonus or try to get that high point value one?
I thought that it was just simple enough to be a thing that you can think about while still also working on the deck building aspect of it. Really added a lot to it. Another thing that we didn't talk about, which I thought was maybe my favorite thing about it, is that on your turn you have a sort of a burn pile. I forget exactly what it's called, but you can
pyre.
The pyre. You can take cards from your hand and put them on the pyre.
No.
And they're gone from the game. And you know, normally in a deck building game, that's something that you want to cull your deck and you have to work to get that ability. But in this, you can do that whenever you want and as much as you want.
Yeah, I think the reason we really enjoyed this game is because it took all the things we like seeing in a deck building game and streamlined it so well.
Yeah, really.
I mean, they said the pyre, you still get if your cards have points on them, you still get them if they're in there, but you don't get the abilities. I mean, that's like, I can't remember the deck building game. There's one I really disliked because there's only 1 or 2 cards in the entire game that let you thin your deck. I'm like, that ruins, I feel like, a deck building aspect. And for this to just be, that's a mechanic, is great.
Yeah, so if you like deck building games, I think Eschaton is one that flew under our radar, so maybe it flew under yours as well, so that's a good one to check out. We also, let's see, we stopped by Calliope Games. That's something that we can't talk about, but we can't really show it to you yet because it's still under wraps, but they did announce that they're coming out with a new version of Tsuro called Tsuro Phoenix Rising, and we got to play a full game of it, and we actually recorded a little preview that will not be going live until January when the Kickstarter launches.
Yeah.
So you can look forward to that. But that was really exciting. Tsuro, you know, it's a fun, simple game, but this new one takes it up a notch.
I was surprised it wasn't based on Phoenix Wright.
It's not Phoenix Rising. Yeah, it's Phoenix Rising. But yeah, just to give you a little taste of it, it's your phoenixes, and you're trying to move through certain spaces of tiles that look similar to the original Tsuro setup, but you're trying to collect lanterns as you fly through, so you're trying to pull off interesting patterns as you go.
Yeah.
Really neat and colorful looking, kind of cool game.
We were also able to stop by the Unpub area and got to try this really cool new awesome game.
Yeah, we got to talk to Max from Resonim Games, who is working on a new one called Ada Robotics. And this was just a prototype form. Yeah. So we have a picture or two, but you know, all non-final components.
Yeah, very non-final.
yeah, that's what the Unpub room is all about. I wish that we had more time sometimes in these shows just to like hang out and see some of that stuff because it's really neat. But basically everyone in this game is manufacturing Roombas. Of course, they can't call them Roombas. They're robot vacuums.
Yes.
And you can make different types of them, and you have your own individual board which has conveyor belts on it that are your factory line to the trucks that deliver them. And when they get to the truck, you sell them and you get money for it.
Right. So in order to make your factory more efficient, you'll be getting these little puzzle pieces that actually click together and make these sort of crazy patterns. Some of them may duplicate machines or upgrade there's between the 3 different machine vacuum non-Roombas, or maybe even there's one that flings it, so you can either fling it backwards to sort of make it go through the conveyor belt again, all this kind of crazy stuff. But the other awesome thing is the way this game will work is you will open it and the game's ready to go because the entire thing's supposed to fit in the box. The puzzle pieces will be on this little wheel that will show the price, and as you rotate it, if you don't buy a piece, it'll get cheaper. It even goes down to this recycled bin. Just the whole thing is crazy. Like,
yeah, it's if you've played like games like Suburbia, where every turn there are certain things you can buy, and if you don't buy one, you slide down. This it does it all for you right in the box. You just literally turn a wheel and it's done. Just really neat, and it's just so much fun to look at your board at the end of the game, and you have this crazy thing where your robots go over here and down here and through this loop, and they spit out more robots.
Yeah, the point of the game is to make the most money at the end, but what's really fun is not only do you get money from just simply selling and stuff, there's certain ways, like you were gift wrapping a lot of things, and that's how you do it.
Yeah.
And you have a little bank. This is like your savings account you can't touch.
Right.
And you may put money in there and stuff, which is sort of hidden, which is cool, unless you are good at counting everyone's points. But the whole thing, like even just the prototype was so much fun to play with the pieces and stuff.
Really unique feeling game. We were talking about how it's like a kind of a mix of different mechanics, but it's hard to really nail down exactly what it is. So really neat one that I think will be on Kickstarter sometime next year. So definitely one to keep an eye out for.
Mm-hmm. This next one we have the least information on out of everything we've talked about, but really awesome. We were walking by and we just happened to notice a Metal Gear Solid banner. We're like, wait, what? And it turns out that there's a new Metal Gear game coming out.
Yeah, it's IDW is producing it. It was next to their booth, but there wasn't a demo on display or even any components. It was just this banner.
We looked for boxes too, so.
And I'm pretty sure this is the first time it was revealed to the public. This is their announcement for it. It's not going to be a Kickstarter. It's going to actually be a pre-order through Amazon. I think Amazon even has some kind of a bonus if you pre-order through them, is what they were talking about. But I'm sure at some point it'll be available widely anywhere else.
Yeah, it seemed to be a stealth game focused really on, from what we can tell, just Metal Gear Solid 1, because the characters they mentioned you can play as is Meryl, Snake, of course, Otacon, and he said Cyborg Ninja, but I assume he means Gray Fox, not Raiden.
Right, probably. Yeah, and it said it was going to be an open world board where you can move around and tackle things from different angles.
At this point, I've seen stealth in the Rambo game we've mentioned from Everything Epic Games, from the Assassin's Creed Kickstarter we just talked about.
Right.
And I think there's a couple others I can't remember.
If you count hidden movement games, that's
right.
Kind of
that's the other one.
Yeah.
Like we were talking, you were mentioning how you thought Spectre Ops would be the perfect way to do Metal Gear. So I really hope they nail that down, because I feel like to do Metal Gear right, and it's not an actual movie, stealth has to be your option.
To really do it justice, there better be like a 500-page book.
You have to read it first. No, and because it's Metal Gear Solid 1, you have to stop and buy the other box because the second disc.
You have to look at the back of the box to find the code to progress.
Oh my god.
Boy, there's a lot of stupid things you can do. So that'll be exciting. Hopefully that comes out sometime soon and is interesting and good. But that was pretty much everything we saw at PAX Unplugged, but if you haven't seen them, we're still going to be releasing a few more interviews throughout the week, because there were other publishers and designers we got to actually talk to and learn about their games, so that's a great way to check out their resources straight from the horse's mouth.
And of course, those of you who said hi, thank you so much. For those of you who didn't catch us, sorry we couldn't say hi to you. And if you saw anything else cool that maybe we missed to really talk about in detail, let us know down below. But of course, there have also been some board game releases that we should get to.
Fireball Island is literally the biggest release of this week. Based on the old Fireball Island game, this is a new version from Restoration Games that you can find now. If you want to cool down a little from all that fire, you can check out The River from Days of Wonder, a new Euro-style game that looks pretty cool. But if you want to use that water for something else, you could fill your camels with it if you're in the desert, because there's a brand new edition of Camel Up for sale. That's a really fun racing, betting, gambling game. And I don't have a segue for this last one. It's Ruby from Arcane Wonders, based on the Rooster Teeth property, which you can also enjoy if you'd like.
We've also got Carcassonne Safari, as well as the new Azul game, Azul, staying class of Sintra. And we have two expansions for some beloved classics here, Mansions of Madness, Horrific Journeys, and a legendary Ant-Man. We've talked about the Mansions of Madness already, which sounds really cool because I think we enjoyed the idea of doing stuff on trains and stuff, and hopefully that will pull through. And legendary, I think Ant-Man's the one you've always been complaining that should have been in earlier, even before like all the movies and stuff.
Seems like a guy that probably should have been in there earlier on, took them way too long. Even when the first Ant-Man movie came out, they didn't tie it into that. And even when they're releasing it now, I guess Ant-Man 2 did come out this year.
A little bit, yeah.
So it's sort of. But that sounds like it has some cool new keywords in it. Fireball Island, we got a copy.
Yeah, you did.
I'm psyched to play it.
As long as we get that tree stump soon.
That's right. Yeah, we need a tree stump to play it correctly.
Yeah, so we already so many games there that we need to tackle already, not including the backlog of other games we got to get to.
Lots going on at the end of the year here.
Let us know what games you have purchased and you've got to play through before the end of the year and find out what your favorite games are. You can let us know in the comments down below. Of course, we'd love to read them so we know if we should play them too.
Yeah, let us know if you were at PAX Unplugged this year, if there was something that you thought was your favorite game of the show, a hidden gem that you found perhaps.
And let us know if you were at PAX before and what your thoughts from last year and what you think it looks like now this year. Is it cool that it's growing bigger? Do you think it's going to go even bigger than before?
It was a lot bigger this year. I think it doubled in terms of the floor space.
Yeah, no. And just the size too of the number of people.
Yeah, it was definitely busier. Definitely felt busier. Healthy busy.
Oh yeah, no. It's good busy.
But maybe cap it here, in my opinion. Don't go too much further.
Hey, as long as they make the secret Roll for Crit entrance.
Oh yeah, we always get that. Hey, if you've got a secret entrance, then you can take it out of this video right now. It's an exit as well. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And this is Roll for Crit, our news roundup. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome board game content from Roll for Crit.
And please leave a comment. We're lonely.